Hello, hello, and happy Tuesday. Let me know if you can hear me. I see I have Joanne in the comments, Georgiana, Allie, Karen. Yes, welcome to the Veg Inspired Tuesday live show. What you can expect each Tuesday at noon Eastern. I go live right here in the Veg Inspired Foodies Facebook group, and I am talking all things plant-based. If you are tuning in and catching this on the Veg Inspired Living page, on Facebook, the business page, or on YouTube. Just know that every week I go live. This only streams to those places one time a month. And so if you want to catch all the action, visit veginspired.com/foodies. Get in on it. It's a free community to support you on your plant-based journey. Drop a hey in the chat. Let me know. I see Becky's here. Yes. You guys, I'm so excited to have you here. Let me know where you're tuning in from. I am tuning in from Newport. Let me try that again. Tongue-tied. Newport, Tennessee, outside of the Smoky Mountains. I travel full-time in a fifth wheel RV with my husband, John, and our little furry friends, Murphy and Eddie. As always, you can catch the replays of these sessions if you have to pop out early or if you're popping in late. They're always in the guides section, guide 2, in our Facebook group, so you can catch any of the replays of any of the shows you may have missed. See if we have some new friends joining us. Drop a hey in the chat. Give this video a thumbs up. It helps push it to the top of the page for other people. But welcome to our Tuesday live show. I'm your host, Kathy Davis, a former school teacher turned plant-based lifestyle coach, 3-time plant-based cookbook author, and the CEO of VegInspired. I help busy people successfully transition to a plant-based way of eating that supports their fast-paced schedules without requiring hours in the kitchen or added stress. Who's with me? Who wants to do this but doesn't want that stress? And first things first, I want to invite you to register for the upcoming free workshop. The Eat More Plants to Elevate Your Energy workshop is coming to you. It's a brand new workshop, October 4th through the 8th. It's 1 hour each night, starting on Monday the 4th at 7 p.m. Eastern. There will be replays. If you want in on that, you can visit veginspired.com/eatmoreplants. I will be sharing strategies for sticking with plant-based eating, foods that you can eat to really elevate your energy and increase that productivity, whether you're a busy mom or you are, a busy entrepreneur or corporate CEO, executive, high level stress job. Let's get those plant-based foods into your life. And then, of course, pantry stocking tips, recipes, and food ideas, and more. It really is the workshop that's going to take you to that next level. So the first 100 people who are registered for that save their spot. They also receive a 7-day energizing meal plan. So I want you to make sure that you snag your seat. It's veginspired.com/eatmoreplants, and let's get you registered. So a little bit more about me. I have been eating and creating vegan meals for more than 7 years. We're actually pushing year 8. And over the past almost 2 years, I've really shifted my daily habits to follow more of a whole food, plant-based lifestyle. And the results I have seen have been tremendous. Elevated energy, a newfound sense of joy, a healthier body and mind. And I'm truly here dedicated to provide people with resources to make a similar transformation. And I love guiding people on this journey because I love seeing those breakthroughs that people have as they're moving through their path to plant-based. It sounds pretty seamless, right? Like Kathy, Veg Inspired. She just woke up one day and was plant-based. It was all easy and intuitive and a way of life. Yeah, that might be how it looks right now, right? But it wasn't always that way. Early on, I was stuck on information overload. And that's really one of the things I want to talk about today. I was following all the accounts on Instagram, joining every Facebook group that had plant-based, vegan, something in the name, buying every cookbook. We had, so many cookbooks before we hit the road full time, following every YouTube channel, listening to all the plant-based doctors, watching all the documentaries, checking checklists, I did it all. I tried it all. And what I found was that information overload is completely paralyzing. Too much information can cause confusion, inactivity, overwhelm, frustration. Just, it's like you're chasing rabbits. You just don't know where to look. And for myself, I found perfectionism paralysis. I worried so much about doing it right, checking all the boxes, that I stopped doing it at all. I kind of gave up on what that aspired life that I aspired to look like. I just kind of gave up on it. Is that relatable? Has it been where you've read all the information and you're like, whoa, I don't know even where to start? Hello, Queen. Hello. So yes, this topic is near and dear to me for a couple of reasons. One, I have major shiny object syndrome. I am always looking for that next big thing, that next breakthrough, that next thing that's going to work. I've tried every diet. I've tried every healthy way of eating. I've followed every plan. And I'm always like jumping to the next until I wasn't. And that was one thing that really taught me, I was able to figure out where that shiny object syndrome could stop. And I have found it. And then the second reason it's really important to me is I'm somebody who delivers content, resources. How do I make sure that the information that I share with you is what you need and that I'm someone that you can listen to? So one of the big things that I really stress when the information overload hits and you're feeling overwhelmed, what do you do? For the past 10 years, that's before veganism even happened, I've made an intentional decision to listen to people who, one, have what I want, and two, have been where I am. So even when I started following this plant-based way of eating and really looking into this, I was looking for the people, the mentors, the coaches, the experts who were sharing information based on experience, not theory. Because they had been where I was and they had what I want. They were living what I wanted. They weren't teaching based on theory. They weren't posting based on something they read. They actually lived it. And that is 100% important to me. And one of the reasons why I've tried all the plans, one of the reasons why I read the book and implement the plan, one of the reasons why I've done the daily dozen, one of the reasons why I've done the meal planning and meal prepping, right? There are countless experts and gurus on the internet that are touting all their claims about being able to help you get exactly what you want. But have they been there? And my example is, before, I really knew what I was doing, I hired a personal trainer to help me lose weight. Okay. Well, one, he had never been where I was because he was a he. So he'd never suffered from, female issues, menopause, not menopause, menstrual issues, any of that, because he'd never been where I was. And after further research, he had never been overweight. He might have built muscle, but he'd never gone from where I was to where I wanted to go. And so I found that it became more of a challenge for us to relate to each other because he'd never been where I was. Right? Are the people you're listening to, have they gone from the sad standard American diet to plant-based eating? Have they been overweight and lost weight? Have they been low energy? Have they felt the couch coma after work where they come home and you just want to kick up your feet and you just want to order takeout because you just don't want to cook? Right? Have they cooked in big kitchens and small kitchens? Have they gone plant-based for health? Have they reversed health issues? But most importantly, are they living the life you want? Are they following their dreams? Have they set a goal and did they stick to it? Right? These are the things that you want to ask as you're starting to listen to people. Are they currently living the life that you want? Have they maintained it? Did they start where you are? When you select your advisory team, the people you want to pick are the people who understand you, the ones that you can relate to. You want that accountability person to remember what it's like to have foods in the house that don't align or foods in front of them. You want that person to be put into some of those situations that you have to learn those responses to, or at least remember what it's like to have been there. You want the person supporting you to be knowledgeable about what you're going through. Perhaps maybe they're even still going through it at the same time. You want them to remember those feelings, the emotions, the struggles. Now, listen, we don't want people to struggle, of course, but with any lifestyle change, there's messiness, there's struggles, there's obstacles. You want that person to have experienced that because their knowledge that they can impart to you from that is from a place of experience, not something that they read. I'm not an expert in plant-based living recipes and lifestyle because I read it in a book. I'm an expert because I live in it day in and day out. I am in situations where I'm at a restaurant with people and I have to find a plant-based option. I am in situations where a vegan food that might not align with my whole food plant-based way of living comes into my life, comes into my ecosystem, and I have to make a response to it, right? We're real people. I am the person who reversed medical issues, lost weight, found energy that I didn't even know was missing. I was telling somebody yesterday, like, it's so crazy to think back to how terrible I actually felt before I ate plant-based, because that was just how I always felt, right? You don't know how bad you were until you start seeing how good it can be. You want people that have had that experience because there's passion there. I know how good it feels to be here, to be confident, to feel healthy, to be able to do the things I want to do from this place where I wasn't 2 years ago. And I definitely wasn't 8 years ago before going vegan. So what do I do? What do I tell people who have information overload? What do I do when my shiny object syndrome starts to take over? Right? It might not be plant-based eating for me with the shiny object syndrome anymore, but there's other things, right? I'm on social media. I love sharing on Instagram. I definitely get sucked down the information overload rabbit holes of the best strategies to, create the best content or the best, apps to organize your Instagram. Like, I can spend hours on these shiny objects. So what do I do? The number one thing that I do is I stop looking for more information. Right? It's likely that every strategy, every app, everything out there is going to work. But nothing's going to work until you pick one and you follow through with it, right? That shiny object syndrome throws everyone off their track. So I always tell people, stop looking for information, hitch your wagon to the star, and follow that path with blinders. And then along that path, track how you feel. Do you feel good in that space? Do you feel inspired? Is the food that you're eating, if it's a food path that you're following, right? We're a whole food plant-based, we're vegan, we're talking about food all the time, right? Veg-inspired foodies. So we're talking about food. Do you physically feel good eating this way? One of the things I always tell people is, like, I follow a high carb, low fat way of eating. So I eat carbs, lots of them. Starch and salad. That's pretty much what I eat all the time. Starch and veggies. But there's certain starches that don't make me feel good. I could eat my weight in sourdough white bread or even sourdough cracked wheat, but you put a plate of pasta in front of me, whole wheat or white pasta, and I feel terrible after eating it. So track how you feel. I can eat gluten. It's not a gluten intolerance. It's a spaghetti intolerance. That's what I always joke. I'm like, oh, I really want spaghetti, but I'm going to feel icky. So I just reduce the amount of spaghetti I eat, level up my veggies, and I can eat it because spaghetti is my favorite. Spaghetti's been my number one favorite since before I could even spell spaghetti, right? If you go back and look at those artwork that my mom has in a bin, you can see it's spaghetti, but it was never spelled right. Is that relatable? Right? How do you feel? So tip number 1, blinders. Put the blinders on and follow it. Track how you feel. right? We always say it's so freeing to unfollow people on social media, but what's making you want to unfollow them? Is it because they don't inspire you? Is it because you've tried stuff and it just doesn't feel good? Create your plan of attack, put those blinders on, and follow that path. It's something that I help my clients with. It's something I can help you with. Do you know what that path is? Maybe you're trying to overcome your diabetes. So you want to follow that mastering diabetes plan. Maybe you just want to go from vegan to more plant-based. So you say, I'm going to follow the Daily Dozen from Dr. Greger because I want to be able to check off the boxes. I want to see that I'm eating a balanced meal. Maybe you're like me and you're like, I really want to follow the starch solution because I know it works for weight loss. Create your plan, put the blinders on. Don't let the shiny objects pull you aside and create overwhelm. For me, one of the things that I did when we first adopted this whole food plant-based way of eating is I went through all my cookbooks and I put a sticky note. I know it's a lot of sticky notes. I cut them and all the sticky notes on all the high starch recipes. Because what would happen is I would go flipping through and I'd be like, ooh, this peanut butter noodle recipe looks good. That's not high carb, low fat. The noodles are high carb. But the peanuts, I was limiting nuts, right? Gotta stay focused. Reduce the information. So that moves me into tip number 2. Filter the information that you do see. Maybe you unfollow accounts or you leave groups. Maybe you turn your notifications off for certain people, but you turn them on to that star that you've hitched your wagon to. Maybe you do what I do and you go through and you sticky note the recipes that do align with the way that you want to eat. Maybe you don't bring certain foods into the house. Maybe you don't bring certain magazines into the house, right? Maybe you filter out the restaurant menus that you can see. Filter the information that you can see. Let your coach or your advisor curate the information for you, right? This is something I do for my clients because I know the value of meal planning. But if you tell me I'm going to eat high carb, I don't want to send you a bunch of cashew recipes, right? It's where I might send you a recipe that has avocado and say I'd cut the avocado in half. Or I'd only eat a fourth of it. Because I know your goal, I can help you filter that information, right? Filter out the overwhelm. Tip number 3 is know your source. Honestly, this probably should be tip number 1, but it's not really from an information overwhelm. It's not as important as a who do you listen to piece. Know your source. You can find an article supporting whatever information you want. There are companies that are funding studies, helping people manipulate information for whatever action they want you to take. And you can find that information to support the actions you desire. You love drinking wine, you'll find an article to support drinking it. You love butter, you can find an article telling you to add it to your coffee. You love chocolate, you love oil, you love fish, you love pasta. There is someone somewhere telling you it's aligned with your goals. Most articles list the author or the reporter, and many will actually share the sources of information from this study. But often you have to scurry down that rabbit hole to find the actual study, to find the actual source. I remember somebody sent me an article about how bad soy was and how good milk was for women specifically. And I was like, this just doesn't align with the information that I know. So down the rabbit hole I go, and I'm going from like the random article, and then I'm in like WebMD, and then I'm like down another hole into a PubMed kind of art, list of studies. And I find the article that's the study that's referenced was funded by the dairy industry. And the information, the actual findings of the study were not what was reported in the article. It was some other piece of the study that said that milk was better for something, but not better overall. So the actual finding of the study found that soy was the better option. But the reporter pulled the information, or the person who wrote the article pulled the information from that one line to make it look like the study found this. You got to know your source. You need to know what's actually being highlighted from the study and what the actual findings are. But for me, the hardest part of all of the information overload, right? Shiny object syndrome. I really want to see it all. Is reframing my thoughts towards that source. Reframing my thoughts towards the information that I actually knew was true, but had been told for so long it wasn't. So for me, it was carbohydrates. And for as long as I can remember, I heard that carbohydrates were bad. Right? And here I was getting ready 2 years ago to embark on eating meals, a diet, right? Like a way of eating that focused primarily on unrefined carbohydrates. I had to dig further into that. I had to know these sources. I had to find people who had made it work. And I'll tell you that my experiences supported the information that I had. And that takes me back to tip number 1, putting those blinders on and trying it. Yes, it was scary to eat a bowl that was 50% carbohydrates and 50% vegetables, to be actually eating more rice than anything else. But a month in, I was getting results. I had energy. I felt better. I was seeing the needle move on the scale. I felt full. I didn't have this icky, sick feeling. And it was through stopping the overload and following that one thing, which was the high carb, low fat, starch based way of eating, and turning off the information from the other plant based doctors for a bit of time. I'm not, because sometimes we try and cherry pick each thing, right? Like, I'm going to cherry pick from this doctor, and then I'm going to cherry pick what this doctor said. So right now I'm eating 6 cups of greens and half a plate of starch, but I'm also going to eat all the nuts that are recommended by this doctor. But then this doctor doesn't say to eat nuts, so I do this. And the next thing you know, you've got so many rules that you just quit. Right? So turn the information off for a bit of time. That's not that you're never going to go back to that. Right? Like I love the Daily Dozen. I actually follow that and a little bit of the high starch just to make sure I'm getting the balance. But when you go straight to the source of the people who've been where you are, who had what you wanted, and started to get that support from those people who were following a high carb way of life, who had increased their energy, who had lost weight, who were happily making this a lifestyle, that was when I realized who I listened to was really important. Right? Because it's easy to listen to the naysayers who are like, no. Carbs are going to make you, I had this friend who couldn't go vegan because she was really sick, but then we found out that all she ate was Doritos and Coke. Right? Who's the source? We don't know why their friend is sick. All you know is what's here. And then you gather that information from the people who have what you want and who've been where you are. They're not teaching on theory. That's not to say that research isn't important, but it is to say that you want people who have that clear-cut plan. Right? If you feel stuck, you want a resource that's going to say, I've been where you are. Let me help you. Let me show you the way I did it. Let me show you the meals that I ate. Let me show you the recipes that I did. Let me help you turn chickpeas into something else. Oh, you don't like chickpeas? Let me find other recipes that will give you that protein that you need. So if you are stuck and you want that clear-cut path, I'm happy to be that resource. I'm happy to be the person that was where you were, to connect with you on that level. The person who was sick, the person who was overweight, the person who didn't want to get off the couch, even to get a snack. The person who couldn't walk around at the flea market, the person who never would have been able to hike 6 miles, the person who could barely bike on a flat beach. I've been there. Right? I've been the person who took plant-based meals to work. I've been the person who worked from home and made plant-based meals while I'm working in my RV. The person who traveled while living a plant-based, whole food, plant-based way of eating. Whole food, plant-based way of life. I've been in so many situations, right? If you need that pathway to follow that gives you the specific resources to work with your goals, right? The specific resources, the filtered and curated recipes that match your needs and preferences so that you aren't overwhelmed by every plant-based cookbook and every recipe. If you want information from the source, the person who's been where you are, I've eaten all over the dietary spectrum and I have tried everything. I know which plans have worked for me. I know which plans have worked for my clients. I know the plant-based foods, the flavors, the substitutions to make the meals easy and taste good. So I am here. I am here as your resource. I am here. I am a message away. Facebook, Instagram, email, wherever you want to connect. Let me know your story. Let me know what resources you need. What would help you right now? Do you need those recipes that are going to help support a medical condition? Do you need those recipes that are going to help support weight loss? Do you need those recipes that are going to help support energy? We have a workshop coming up that's all about that energy and productivity, really elevating your life to go from like couch coma to energized and ready to take on the day. Let's connect. Let me know what resources would help you. I saw some activity in the chat. Yes, Betty, forgiving yourself and getting back on track is so important. And it really goes back to that intention over perfection that we talked about a few weeks ago, really digging into what your goal is and forgiving yourself if you eat unaligned. I always say unaligned because like if this is your goal and the things that you do support your goal, they're in alignment, right? You're aligned with your goal. It doesn't have to be perfect though. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect to be plant-based. Who do you listen to? How do you overcome that information overwhelm? Pick your source. Know your source. Pick your plan. Filter out the other stuff. So I am here. It's an open invitation to connect with me. I am happy and passionate about helping people on this way of life. I feel like it is just so powerful, the power of plants, and I want to support you. So if there's something you need, reach out to me. Like I said, Instagram, Facebook, email, however you can connect with me. And let's continue this conversation on a more personal level for you so that you can really navigate your path, your specific path to plant-based, to reach the plant-based lifestyle that you aspire to have and aspire to live. So thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to register for the Eat More Plants to Elevate Your Energy and Productivity workshop. And let's continue this conversation via messages. And I will talk to all of you next Tuesday. Also, keep an eye out for some other bonus live sessions that will be coming. One of them is very, very important and will happen in 2 weeks. And I'm so excited. It will actually kind of cover up this session too. So maybe we can figure out a way to stream. Yes. Remember to like this too. Thank you, Karen. I appreciate all of you. Have a fantastic week. Bye.